Welcome to the Morning Brew News segment for October 14th, 2019. These are the current events on that day. Hit it, Merlin.
Hi, I'm a Merlin, and I'm going to read the news. The first one I just named Syria because there's been so many stories coming out of Syria. A worst-case scenario is being played out in Syria. On Sunday, the Kurds and the Assad regime came to an agreement to work with each other to protect the territory of northeast of Syria. Russia helped to broker a deal and is also in mediation with Turkey and Syria to avoid conflict as Syria moves closer to the Turkish forces. Turkish President Erdogan said the reason why he moved into Syria last week, saying that Turkey's offensive is necessary to push back Kurdish militants and resettle refugees. The latest count of refugees in Turkey is about 2.1 million people. The rapid advance of Turkish forces has caught international attention and condemnation. Rumors of Turkish war crimes are being reported as they continue to attack Kurdish strongholds. A couple of hundred Kurds have been killed during this onslaught by Turkey. Meanwhile, the U.S. and the European countries threaten sanctions against Turkey.
Because sanctions work. I mean, look at how great they work for, North Korea.
Yeah, it worked really well.
Mm-hmm. And Iran. It worked great for them, too.
Yeah. I mean, sanctions is just the best tool around. Mitch, Turkey with a side of onslaught.
Yeah, pretty much.
Trump on Sunday, while having a luncheon with Christian conservatives, remarked that big sanctions on Turkey, and we are not going into another war with people who have been fighting with each other for 200 years. And also this remark, in the Second World War, they didn't help with Normandy as an example. They mentioned the names of different battles. They weren't there.
Okay.
Trump fails to...
Neither Turkey nor the Kurdish people helped us in World War II, so what the fuck is his point?
I don't know. I really don't know what's going through this man's mind and why he's spitting these words out that make no freaking sense.
This is like whataboutism on a presidential scale. That has nothing to do with what's going on now. Turkey and the Kurdish people did not help us in World War II. They didn't at all. I mean, come on. What does that got to do with anything?
Apparently in Trump's mind, a lot. But Trump fails to mention that the Kurds have stuck by the U.S. in the war against terror by capturing tens of thousands of ISIS fighters with their families and sympathizers. Trump, however, did allude to the Kurds are releasing prisoners to quote-unquote to get us involved. The Kurdish leaders did say they could not defend the prison and their homes at the same time. I believe this move by Trump has irreparably. What you said. Damaging our country's standing as a reliable partner. In other words, we will be known as backstabbers willing to leave our allies hanging as they get attacked by superior force. Russia and Iran has an open door to control the region. Syria will now be able to capture the land that was lost. ISIS will have a new lease on life. And other things I'm sure that will do the U.S. harm more than good.
Now, Mitch questions. To be fair, do we have a treaty with the Kurds? No, we do not. Top investment banks provide billions to expand fossil fuel industry. This information was gathered from the Rainforest Action Network, a U.S.-based environmental organization, which means get out your salt shakers, people, because we're taking this with a grain of salt. They released a report, Banking on Climate Change 2019. I'm only going through key stats, and we'll do a further study behind this report. I will not go into the cancer part of the article. I will spare everyone's stomach. Thank you for sparing everyone's.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
The world's largest investment banks have provided more than $700 billion dollars of financing for the fossil fuel companies. They have targeted on expanding and finding new coal, oil, and gas products since the Paris Climate Agreement. And I can't speak. J.P. Morgan Chase, a leader in this financing, has spent over $75 billion with the B for fracking, Arctic oil, and gas exploration. Citigroup, Bank of America, and Wells Fargo are among the top banks as well when it comes to financing. 2016 through 2018, over $1.9 trillion has been financed in the fossil fuel industry. Meanwhile, the Royal Bank of Canada and Toronto Dominion have led the way in the tar sands crude oil projects in Alberta, Canada. The left has vilified the fossil fuel industry, even though there has been many advances in this field. Before they throw stones in glass houses, they need to learn to pick up their own trash and show the world you care about the environment. Keep acting like pigs and no one will take these radicals seriously. And this is in reference to every time they go to protest something, or, somebody, or pipelines, for instance. They leave tons and tons of trash and human waste behind. There is no way around it. Fossil fuels are big business, and if we can tap the reserves we have in this country, we'll have no reason to be in the Middle East. We will be able to take care of ourselves, and with the money the country would gain, the feds could start paying their debt finally. This is a reality that seriously needs to be looked at if we are to be energy dependent. So in other words, to all the environmentalists, pull your heads out of your asses. We don't want to deal with your trash anymore, figuratively and literally. Also, too, there are a lot of states that need to change their legislation because it is perfectly sustainable and it is perfectly feasible for people to live off the grid. But a lot of states have made it impossible to do so because they have put laws in their books saying that it is illegal for you to disconnect from the power grid.
Yeah, which is kind of BS in itself.
Yeah. Catalan separatist leaders given lengthy prison sentences. On Monday, the 7 judges of Spain's Supreme Court handed down their sentences to the Catalan leaders and government officials. 9 of them were cleared of the serious crime of violent rebellion, but were found guilty of the lesser crimes of sedition and misuse of public funds. Catalan's former vice president, Oriol Junqueras, was convicted of sedition and misuse of public funds, was sentenced to 13 years in prison and a 13-year ban of holding public office. Catalan,
did I mess it up?
No, I did. Catalan's former foreign minister, Raúl Romeva, was convicted of the same lesser crimes and was sentenced to 12 years in prison and 12 years of no public service. The same verdict was handed down to Catalan government spokesman Jordi Turull, and the dog agrees. And Labor Minister Dolors Basca, Territorial Minister Joaquim Fom were all given 10.5-year prison sentences. Parliament member Carme Forcadell, wow, that was... Without that R in there, it could be something completely different. Sentenced to 11.5 years in prison. Jordi Suissart and Jordi Sanchez were both found guilty of sedition and sentenced to 9 years in prison. Finally, there were 3 others who were found guilty of disobedience and were handed fines and bans of holding public office. Monday's verdict ended a sensational 4-month trial that had 422 witnesses. This was the worst political crisis since the country became a democracy after General Franco's death. Wow.
The worst part is it's not over.
They should be free. I agree.
I think it should be free. It comes down to like us in the Civil War. Should states be able to pull out from the federal government if they don't agree with the policies of that government?
You guys heard about the shit going on in California with the power company shutting off power in order to, quote unquote, prevent forest fires. Only you can prevent forest fires.
Experts say it's hard to know what might have happened had the power stayed on. Can I interject?
People can see. Medical equipment would work. You need people can cook.
We wouldn't have, killers being born because in the power by themselves.
Karens can have their Starbucks. Oh, sorry, I had to put that in there. Sorry.
I didn't hear no stories of neckbeards or soy boys hanging themselves because of Starbucks. But what I've noticed, though, when I was covering and watching the story, they kept this story buried. Mm-hmm. I wonder why. But anyway.
Maybe because what they thought would work didn't work.
Right. By the way, this is not the first time. This is the 5th time that this electric company, PG&G, I believe, has tried this tactic. 5th time.
It doesn't work, but they keep doing it.
They keep doing it. It doesn't work, but they keep doing it. It's like trying to prove a negative, said Alan Schiller-Wolf, professor of operation management and energy expert at Carnegie Mellon's Tepper School of Business. Shorter names of schools, people.
Shorter names, period. We need shorter titles.
They can't prove they prevented a disaster because there's no alternative universe where they didn't try this. The winds that prompted the mass outage that affected nearly 2 million people in northern and central parts of the state shifted southward by Friday, where a Whitfield wildfire prompted officials to evacuation of 100,000 people in San Fernando Valley. California is experiencing the first major fire activity of the season.
It's amazing. Electricity doesn't cause wildfires. Wow. Who would have thunk? Sorry.
Oh, it's PG&E. Yeah, I can see why this company is almost why this company's bankrupt.
Yeah.
I have never seen a state that's been run like the Three Stooges.
God, I know, right?
I can't even be serious with this story because I can't.
Screw the Three Stooges. This is like Keystone Cops level of comedy of errors. I mean,
it is.
And they keep They keep doing the same shit over and over again. So it's like, this is living, breathing insanity.
I mean, this is an actual news story. Because of stupid, California is continuing to give us entertainment. All right, better than Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
We can shut Hollywood down because PG&E, they stepped up. They have. So, continuing on, if I could remain serious here.
Sorry.
We have. This is from PG&E. We have good reason to be skeptical, and the reason is that this is not PG&E. Bears the cost of starting a fire, but they don't bear the cost of shutting off power. Say what?
What? That made no sense. Okay, we have good reason to be skeptical, and the reason is that PG&E bears the cost of starting a fire, but they don't bear the costs of shutting off power.
That's the reason they're bankrupt, because apparently the government blamed PG&E for the last two big fires.
Oh.
Yeah.
What?
Which you're.
What?
Unless there was a fire that burned down like an electrical pole that suddenly snapped and there were sparks and more flames erupted, sure, I could see that. Thunder or lightning hitting the line, okay.
Yeah, but that's
but how does a company start a fire?
Right. I mean, it still wouldn't be PG&E's fault if a lightning bolt struck a pole, henceforth, starting a fire. It would still be attributed to, a natural disaster. So it's just,
Unless, all right, the government said you're not allowed to take. You know what, Mitch? You're right. There is a law in the books about brush that you can't do.
Mm-hmm.
So PG&E can't do it, which causes a fire right near their property. But yet they get blamed because they can't do what they're supposed to do because of the government.
Yeah, of course.
So, yes, he noted that weather forecasting is notoriously. Thank you. Difficult.
Welcome.
So even if PG&E were doing the best possible job, it would not get it right sometimes. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yes, it's still a stupid company ran by stupid people, but
stupid is
you can't blame just because there's a forest fire right near your property, or if a line accidentally went down due to an accident, they're still not to blame.
Nope.
So I can't think California because it's messing up with my brain, man. It's messing up with my brain hard.
I mean, you can't blame an electric company for forest fires.
So here we go. Government Newsom blasted PG&E for what he called decades of mismanagement, underinvestment, and lousy communication with the public. He pointed to San Diego Gas and Electric, who pioneered proactive power shutoffs following a devastating 2007 fire sparked by his equipment, as a model for responsibility, shutting off power in bad weather. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And?
So it's basically like, PG&E is basically the redheaded stepchild?
Apparently. The problem is okay, the inherent problem I see when you shut off power in grids as a power company, and you do it for a certain amount of days, because they did it for what, 6?
Wednesday, So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, about 4 days.
About 4 days.
5 days. 5 days in total.
Okay. The inherent problem is this. Without the proper backups in place, without the proper warning in place to the populace stuff, you can have disasters on a different scale other than wildfires because you have people that need machines in order to live. You have people on life support, machine-assisted life support. You have people that have to have, regular dialysis and things of that nature. And unless, have a good day, Mitch, unless you have those fail-safes in place and those backups and those generators ready to go because you've been properly warned, you're taking the lives of everybody that needs those machines to sustain their life in your hands.
And if PG&E is being mismanaged like it is, why hasn't there been any changes?
Yeah. See,
so in comparison, they compare San Diego G&E, which serves 3.6 million people, has spent $1.5 billion to better predict bad weather with update its equipment, said Chief Operating Officer Caroline Wynn. The company hired meteorologists, data scientists, and fire experts and deployed an extensive array of weather monitors, he said. It replaced about 18,000 wind poles with steel, installed new conductors, and increased the wind tolerance in remote areas, using data from weather sensors to know which equipment was most at risk. The company also sectionalized electrical circuits so power managers could target outages more precisely to the lines facing danger. Well, wow, these guys are special. Wow.
Yeah. Neil says
seriously.
It. Neil provided the example right there in the chat. I still can't believe they shut it down at 3 a.m. for the one guy who died from lack of oxygen. He never had a chance to get his battery oxygen machine with a surprise like that while sleeping.
No, because they didn't warn anybody. No. They just put it on their site, maybe ran like one little ad, and that was it. Mm-hmm. I agree. PG&E is a crap company. They don't know what the hell they're doing.
Yep.
And it's costing lives. When they're pulling, it costs more. They care about the environment, but it costs more electricity to upboot everything than just to leave it on.
Yep.
San Diego G&E live in an area where Southern California is notorious for the forest fires, so yes, they had to do something.
Yeah. Neil says, I think that guy actually prepared by having that battery machine, but 3 a.m.? What the fuck? Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
We really don't need to go into this because it's just, it's idiotic.
Yep.
The whole thing is idiotic. That now if there's fire conditions, you have to shut power off to cities.
Yep.
Whole cities. Mm-hmm. So San Francisco was in the dark, shit everywhere, literally. I mean, that was definitely I wouldn't want to live there.
No. Mm-mm.
And they pay the highest property taxes in the country, and this is what they deal with.
Yep, exactly. And those are the current events for today, October 14th, 2019. If you'd like to catch the show live, the link to the Twitch channel as well as Showtimes are in the description below. See you guys in the next one. And that's another video in the can. If you liked it, don't forget to hit that like button. If you didn't like it, well, there is that dislike button. And you can always continue the conversation in the comments section below. There is a subscribe button as along with that bell, and both of them have to be clicked together. And then YT may or may not decide to tell you the next time I upload, but keep tabs on that. The description is where we have all of our sources and also ways to support the channel, so please check that out, and we will catch you in the next one.